brand of war like it doesn't cater to original.
All right, guys, welcome to Wide Awake News Radio. I'm your host, Charlie McGrath. Hey, it's Eric Lovely. Tonight is the 22nd. I'm excited because I get to see Eric Lovely for the first time live. If you're watching, first of all, it's the 22nd of January, Tuesday. Eric Lovely is joining me, and if you're listening and not at wideawakenews.com, you're not on in the chat room, you can go to Wide Awake News and click on the microphone and get into chat. If you're watching on Justin TV, you're not going to see my feed, I don't think. You're just going to see an image of me because Eric is hooked up live with his webcam, and we're going to try to make this work. He's got spotty internet connection, but this is the first time we've had him live on Justin TV, so I'm kind of excited about that. Eric, welcome back to the program. I'm going to say hello to you right now because I want to make sure we have a good connection here.
Well, hello there, Charlie.
All right, cool. And Gary, it must be working out if we have my feed just as an image and Eric's is going to work fine. Is that accurate? Okay, I'm going to assume he said yeah. He gets mad when I do that to him. All right, so Eric, you know what? I'm uploading a video now, and Eric and I have not spoke to each other today. So I really don't know which way he's going to go. We could be talking about Mali. We could be talking about the next Afghanistan, which is the next war on fill in the blank, which is Mali. The North Africa. So this never-ending parade of defending freedom is right on track, and I bet you Eric wants to bring that up a little bit. But one thing that caught my eye today that was somebody sent to me. And thank you to whoever sent that. I don't even. You guys do a great job of sending stories into Wide Awake News. And somebody sent this one in. The first time I saw it today was from somebody who was a follower of the program. Journalists give FBI link to cyber criminal defaming Sandy Hook victims. Eric, I don't know if you had a chance to see this or not. I'm putting a video up about it right now. Unbelievable. Now, the premise of it is the FBI put out feelers from so-called journalists, right, mainstream journalists, to help because the poor people of Sandy Hook are being double victimized because of conspiracy theorists and other rabble-rousers on the internet who are looking to profiteer and drive traffic to their website by talking about some of the inconsistencies with the Sandy Hook fiasco. Now, you know, anybody who dramatizes or goes ahead and promotes any kind of sorry, I'm having a little weird feedback here. Can you hear me all right, Eric?
Oh, I hear you fine.
Okay, good. Okay. So anybody who's going to take advantage of a situation like the Sandy Hook to profiteer, then they're scumbags, right? I got something feedback. I got to get rid of it because it's driving me nuts. Do you have a speaker on?
No, I don't have anything connected except for my mic and my headphones.
Okay, Gary, I'm literally have to take my headphones off because it's just feeding right back into my ears. Anyway, I'll keep going. Hopefully, the audience isn't hearing in what I'm hearing. Anybody who profiteers from this kind of event is a scumbag. There's no doubt about it. But the number one profiteer of events like this, any massacre, any horrific event that occurs, is the mainstream media. They hoard this kind of stuff out like it's candy, you know, and then pretend that they're going to be real journalists and help out the FBI. You're putting your hands up. Should I shut up?
Well, go ahead. You know, what's funny is if really, this is going to be difficult if you can't hear me. But
I can hear you fine. It's just
when you actually look, what they described was ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS, and any news station. What do? They grab a story, they pump it out as fast as they can to snatch up as many things with these wild, outlandish breaking news things that shoot across your screen. And hey, come look at me. To do what? To get more viewers. To do what? To sell more Coke advertisements, to sell more Ford advertisements, to sell more Chevys and more HP Hewlett Packards and more iPods and iPhones. They're doing exactly what they're attempting to arrest these other individuals for. Their media There is no free media as far as free funded. Okay, there's no guy who's just Daddy Warbucks with a big bag of coins that's just paying for media. So these guys are all whores. You know what I mean? When you're out there in some form or fashion or another, a news media or a news source has to fund itself in some way. So if it has sponsors, once you include sponsors, well, guess what? You're sensationalizing. And if you look at the original reporting. Okay, why isn't Fox? Why aren't the Fox journalists going to jail? Why isn't Fox having their license pulled right now and going under? CNN, CBS, because if you look at, well, let's look at just the first 12 hours. Okay, how many lies did they put out? How many sensational claims did they make? Okay, you know, massive shootings and deaths and all the bazookas and machine guns and he's just ripping through it. You know what I mean? And all and on and on and all this crap and all this speculation. But they're not going to get in trouble for that because I guess they're allowed to lie. They're allowed to do anything that they want at any time that they want to do what? To manipulate the people and to make big fat dollar bills.
That's right. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, Ed Corcoran and I were talking about this last night. You know, they're the one of the number one proponents of policy. Now, they might play this left, right, red, blue game, you know, and try to put a little spin on it. Because they're the number one proponents of the status quo because they're the number one beneficiaries of a central controlled economy. Right? These mass media outlets are absolutely going out of business if it wasn't for you and me, American taxpayer, funding this nonstop bailout phenomenon. So they can come out and report whatever they want. They can come out and report how glorious and patriotic it is that we have so-called journalists. If you could see me on JTB right now, you'd see me doing air quotes. Turning people in to the FBI because they don't like the way what they're saying or how they're exercising their First Amendment rights. It's incredible to me, Eric. We jump from Second Amendment attack to First Amendment attack, and this should be a microcosm of what's coming. You get rid of the Second Amendment, the First Amendment doesn't exist.
Oh, absolutely. And this is you should imagine right now that your liberties. You should be looking at it that you're a prize fighter. And basically, you're seeing a flurry of multiple combinations from both the left and the right hand coming in on you from all different directions. And that's what this is because, you know, they smell blood in the water. They smell weakness. People are crying and grinding. You see, most people don't even understand how the last weapons ban, I talk about it all the time, as the militia of Missouri and so forth, mustered into the field. I mean, they actually assembled their armored units. They assembled their infantry units, and they actually assembled in the field in 1990s. And over the gun ban. And people, excuse me, don't realize exactly that's how close it came, and that's how the gun ban was stopped last time. In other words, you had militia members, you know, locked and ready to rock, standing in the grass, receiving their orders from militia commanders. They were receiving deployment. There was a battle strategy being created. You were moments away from war, and the government backed down, eliminated the assault ban, and did many other things to appease the militias of that time. Well,
what
it's
year was
now.
that? We had the assault ban in 1994.
Yeah, it's 95. It lifted. If you look at they held Senate hearings on it, and all of the militia members from Missouri. They had some generals and whatnot from the Pentagon. They had the young lady came on and testified in front of Congress about the gun ban. Her parents were shot in the restaurant where her gun was in the glove box. I know everyone's seen that moving video. This is the reality. You know, when we talk about the gun ban was one of the major issues that pushed the militia into the field the last time, because they were starting to talk about restricting ammunition and so forth, and ending the grandfather clause that was in the original gun ban.
Yeah, they're going to do more and talk about it this time. I mean, they're gonna go for broke, Eric, and they have a media that is
absolutely, because they stuck their foot in the water last time. They saw what happened. Right. They've stuck their foot in the water again, and guess what? Nobody's responded. Oh yeah, there's millions of people crying on the internet.
And guys in the chat, I know you're hearing an echo when I talk. We're gonna fix this at the break, which is in about 10 seconds, which is right now, I should say. All right, we're gonna be back with Eric Lovely, echoey Charlie, and more Wide Awake News Radio in just a few minutes. All right, guys, welcome to Wide Awake News. Back to Wide Awake News Radio. Charlie McGrath, I'll join with Eric Lovely. And I think we have our echo issue worked out. And congratulations to Gary Hendershot, who managed to pull all that off, put up a couple screens, and get live broadcast on Justin TV as well as Rinse, all in about 3 minutes or less. So certainly more than I could accomplish in a week. Eric, are you back with me? No, he's not. He'll be back in just a sec. He had to grab some water. Talking about, when we left the break, talking about the beneficiaries of of the police state, the beneficiaries of a control state, an Orwellian control state. The mainstream media is one of the primary beneficiaries of. Is that the right word? Beneficiaries of the system that we have. So you see a crackdown on, Eric's talking about people got up in arms in the late 2000s or in the late 90s, but you see a complete and total collusion, right? You see a complete and total towing of the propagandist line by the mainstream media. Now, I don't know the individuals who are being put to the forefront in this story about journalists give FBI link to, cyber criminals defaming Sandy Hook victims. I don't know who the outfit is. It's some Utah outfit. They're calling them Nazis. They're calling them profiteers. They're calling them everything under the sun. But mainly they're calling them conspiracy theorists. They're pointing out that they talk amongst one another on the internet. Plain as day to me. This is a direct shot over the bow. You talk out, you could have FBI showing up at your door.
Well, the individuals that they're actually looking at, and it's hard because they haven't given a firm or a representative or a website that you can actually go to and see these crazed Nazis, because the FBI swooped right in and shut the websites down. Supposedly, there's others that they're looking at, but they're not being real clear as to who the culprits are. However, the things that they're talking about, or the people that they're talking about, is such a small number, and maybe some of the individuals are saying certain things or doing certain things, like other what they call them shock jocks do, and to bump their ratings, to sell their cups, to sell their books, to sell their DVDs, videos, and all that's fine and dandy. I understand that, but that's not actually who they're targeting. They're saying that these individuals are the guilty party, but because of these individuals, we're not going after everybody, and we need to. Well, you have everything from arresting them, sending them to Guantanamo Bay, all the way down to everyone anywhere who chooses to broadcast must maintain a license with the FCC and 6 months interval checkups and review of your material and content. This is virtually the end of the First Amendment, and the reason why is because this is the thing. I've always talked about, and people say that I'm rude about people who don't like guns, people who aren't interested in the militia, people who are basically tree hugging. I don't want to fight anybody. The reality people have to understand is that the Second Amendment should have been the First Amendment, because the moment that they pull this garbage, and there is no response, there is no man-manifested physical bodies in the street response,
and there's not going to be, Eric.
And that's what it is. They see no response, so basically they're looking at the situation, going, well, we've licked this problem, and without the Second Amendment, you have no other amendment. I don't care when anyone tries to tell you, because when someone shows up with guns, God bless you, or you're coughing, but when someone shows up with guns, they're going to take your stuff away, and you're either going to defend it or not. Right. Well, if they know you're not going to go into the street over your guns, well, then they can take away the First Amendment. If you look at the executive orders that have now come out, and the push for the new bill, the Fourth Amendment, you might as well flush it down the commode completely. And, a lot of people have talked to me about this, and a lot of people have been asking me these questions. You're only losing the last bit pieces, okay? They eroded it to the point where you don't even really grasp truly what a Fourth Amendment means and what a First Amendment really means and how you protect them. People say peacefully. Well, how many writs have been written by, the sovereign individuals who understood the law and actually applied their writ and authority in these documents, filing redress. People don't even file redresses correctly. It's the reason why Congress doesn't have to respond to them. Nobody actually understands the law and how it works, but yet they're screaming about it, and they don't want to protect it. And now you're at the last foundations of those individual little laws, and it's merely going to be a wash because they simply waited 20 years. Every guy who mustered in the field long ago, well, guess what? They're 60. They're moving. They were in their late 30s, mid to late 40s. Well, now what are they? They're in their late 50s to mid 70s. Okay, and these people are not responding onto the field, and the younger generation has been so absorbed in this idea that they are somehow mentally greater and evolved than any other man that has come before them or woman. So now they're at the point where we're not going to break out. We're not going to show our teeth. We're not going to be the rabid dog standing in the yard going, "Oh yeah, you're at the fence, but step across." And that's our problem. We have no moxie and no fire left in society, and the people that do are called insane. You're a lone nut gunman or something, or we can't go out there in the field with you. You're a maniac. And they have you policing yourself. This is the ultimate Fabian Marxist gulag that is being created using fear for you to report on yourself. That's what's going on here, is that you have now entered into the people policing themselves for the government.
In Stasi police data, East Germany, the number one profession, the number one employer was the state. The number one employer, the state, people spying on each other. This is what we're turning into. Hey, journalists, great job, defending the First Amendment. We're going to be back with Eric Lovely. More Wide Awake News Radio in just a minute. Hang tight. Welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Charlie McGrath, Eric Lovely, Tuesday the 22nd of January. Apparently we have the feeds running smoothly now on Justin TV as well as the Rinse Network. So if you want to see Eric Lovely for the first time probably ever, other than his biggest fan picture that was it's always posted on the live feed, you can go to wideawakenews.com, click on the microphone, take you into Justin TV, and you can see Eric Lovely for yourself. Eric, people getting excited, people even noticing this. It ain't going to happen, man. It ain't going to happen. We've been taken down a path. And I don't know if it's learning a lesson from the 90s, trying to go too much, too fast. But, we've been immersed over and I know you're going to, and I'm going to try to keep you from going way, way back. But over the last 5 years, we've been immersed in governed by crisis. We've been immersed in rapid destruction of freedom in the name of fill in the blank. This is the full-blown go for it moment where a representative republic is lost completely. What's going to be left? What is going to be left that we could say is the once great republic of the United States of America? First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment? Nope.
Well, I think I'm actually gonna quote another individual. I'm sure everybody or most people are aware of Casey Research Institute and who Doug Casey is. And if you actually go and look at his address at his last summit, he said this. He said that we are so forgive me. He said that we were so degraded as a society that basically we're a society of whipped dogs. And that the whipped dogs are so ashamed and fearful of their own knowledge of their own whipped state that they are chasing the only sparse remnant of non-whipped dogs out of the society to actually have the government abuse them and take them from their sight so that they won't be reminded of the shame of their own inability to take action. Now, those are devastating words. And the man said it far, far better than I could. I would use some other choice words and things to say, and I'd be a lot more.
Well, the point would be
violent.
made the exact same if either one of you gave it, which is, go ahead.
We're a bunch of whipped dogs. It's really what it boils down to. and to listen to him say it so succinctly and with a smirk on his face, just telling the world, because he views himself as a non-whipped dog. He still views himself as having plenty of fight left in him. He's spending his money. He's holding summits. He's attempting to talk to people. But each time he comes back to the table, he keeps talking about the eminent display of violence and the eminent understanding of what the Second Amendment means, and how we are so detached from it. And I'm hoping to start to do some more shows and things on that. But if you really want to understand the Second Amendment, you read the Second Amendment for itself, and then realize that the populace understood in the 1860s and 1870s what a huge mistake it made with Abraham Lincoln, and what a huge mistake happened with the basically not fighting the idea of a standing army and not following the Constitution. So they attempted to erect a new barrier known as posse comitatus and actually spell it out for individuals what the militia was and what the Second Amendment is. And people should spend a long, hard, few hours researching that and reading it and understanding what old President Bush got rid of. Because it clearly tells you in the Second Amendment that everybody between the ages of 17 and 42 or 17 and 45 are to have rifle, shot, uniform, sword, pistola, the whole entire gambit, that you were to be a citizen soldier, that there was no such thing as a non-citizen soldier, that a citizen who was not armed and geared as a soldier was a citizen shirking their responsibility. And, the people who wrote that actual quote and that actual phrase within the posse comitatus law will have to understand that when they read the private journals of these individuals, Hagen's and others who had their hands in it, you will see that they said in their journals that they wished that if you would refuse to be a citizen soldier, that they hoped and prayed with all their being that the chains of your slavery would rest lightly on your soul. And this is the whole idea, that people just don't understand that these guys weren't a lot of hot air. They didn't sit around beating their chest. It wasn't about, I'm a bigger man than you. They were trying to bring home the issue about fear. Okay? Fear is a tool. It goes one of two ways. Either we make them fear us, or they will use fear to dominate us. There is no two ways about it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. People can strike. People can then leave their jobs. They can do sit-ins and so forth. But if there isn't some form of people ready to step up and defend those freedoms for real, to defend the people who won't take arms, then we're pretty much in a real bad situation. And yes, there are groups.
What is Doug Casey thinking about? I mean, is he, and I get he's spending his own money, he's putting on these seminars, and he understands the situation the way it is, but I mean, is there a group of people out there that think that they're just going to be able to sit back and watch this all unfold and not be affected by it? Even I mean, people who are, let's say, awake. I mean, Doug Casey, I would certainly consider him awake. I mean, is he just, sitting back waiting? In a lot of cases, he's looking for not angles, but he's looking for opportunities, investments.
He actually took his money and he went to Argentina and is actually building a community. He has over 1,800 individuals that live there. Okay. So, I mean, I don't agree with the fact that he left us high and dry, as I see it. And, because he could have influxed that money to build these communities here in America, but he would have been deemed a criminal. But we won't get into the ins and outs there. But he actually quoted a woman who, when he gave her the information, and her email response to him was, well, if all of this is true, when they televise that they're coming for us, I'm going to take my bottle of scotch and sit in the hot tub and wait for them to get here. That was the actual common American's response. And this was someone who was taking his course and was involved in listening to what he had to say. So I'm almost to the point where some of us are being viewed as dreamers, like you and like me, because we're dreaming supposedly that the people are actually going to manifest some type of backbone. And I don't know if that's true or not. I know that there are certain communities that I help with And, I'll be talking about these on Thursday with another gentleman when he comes on. But, I have a community in, on the eastern coast, northeast, north central of the state, and in Texas. And, these communities, I do not run these communities. I am not in charge of these communities. I consult for these communities. And they are building, and they are basing their communities on the actual law and understanding the material. So I'm here to tell Doug Casey and others that the flickers, the fires of revolution and the fire of self-determination is still alive. What we have to do for some reason is we have to convince these non-antagonist, anarcho, voluntarism, and these individuals that the time for force of action is coming to hand, and it is time for you to look in the mirror and weigh your decisions. If you want a voluntary state to live in, all these anarcho individuals, everything they're asking for is found in the original Constitution from the 1700s. Every single thing that they have talked about, every type of voluntary anarcho society rests there. They don't see it in the U.S. Constitution because that is something different. It has been warped and twisted, and you will not find the things that I'm talking about there. You will not find the protections there. So, with this being said, people need to understand that this is what is coming upon us. And I hope that people can start to see that because you have no response, you're in trouble.
Absolutely. And I tried to jump in there, but I had my kill switch on. Because I wanted, speaking of the anarchist crowd, we'll talk about it more on the backside of Spark. We're going to be back with Eric Lovely, more Wide Awake News Radio, just a minute. Hang tight. Welcome back to Wide Awake Nerd Radio.
Nerd Power.
Nerd Hour. Nerd last 15 minutes of the first segment. Eric, I was going to say you're welcome to hang out in the next segment, but and you are welcome to hang out. Because we're having Freeman Bird on, we're going to talk about difference between. He just wrote a book, difference between arms and firearms, and it's going to continue this conversation. You'd like Bird, actually. I don't know if you've ever spoken with him or not. But if we try to do your live video feed and his, we will definitely implode. So if you're going to hang out, we might cut my feed or maybe your live video and just go audio. Take it away, Eric, because I don't know. Here's the deal. I tell you to take away, and then I keep talking. What's coming is the culmination of a decade of governed by Christ. And I know you're going to go back further, but since 9/11, since the Patriot Act, since the constant beating of the drums of war on whatever, we have a generation that's grown up killing people for reasons they don't understand, invading nations for lies. I over the last weekend watched a series on History Channel. It's one of the only TV channels that I actually care to watch, and it was on the glorious Battle of Fallujah. Now, before I piss somebody off, understand I'm a vet. I've been in combat. Understand that I don't want my brothers and sisters in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Syria, in any of these places that we're going to just allegedly spread democracy. However, that they are there. We need to make it crystal clear that the people back here, for the most part, at least in the alternative media that is not being demonized, understand they're there under false pretenses. But when you watch a program glorify the Battle of Fallujah and talk about the bravery and the cowardice of the enemy, the bravery of our troops, I'm like, all right, get this, and Eric, you understand this. The folks that are in our military in wherever fighting, they're not fighting for a bunch of crap that Glenn Beck or somebody's going to put on television for you to consume. They're fighting for the guy next to him. So, take whatever. I mean, these guys aren't there. Maybe they joined up for so-called patriotic reasons, but the folks fighting with their brothers and sisters are fighting to keep themselves alive. The notion that we would run this propaganda hit piece on an event like Fallujah and call the enemy cowards is beyond belief to me, Eric, because they we're invading nations. We're rolling down the streets of Fallujah, going after weapons of mass destruction, going after terrorism, going after the folks who brought us 9/11, and none of it's true. And these guys are rolling in with M1 Abrams tanks, and they're leveling facilities. And you have these so-called terrorists roaming around with pocket knives, RPGs, and hand grenades. And they're this is their home. It's insanity. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, it really, to me, it's disgusting. And you want to talk about arresting people for profiting from a disgusting, hyped up display. These individuals, you go into these territories, if we really want to talk about it, the reason why there was no real resistance, as I went through this area, and other people from the different airborne divisions, armored divisions. I can't sit here and tell you every single unit that was involved in this glorious attack on Fallujah. But the big thing that people need to understand is that this is disgusting. Okay, these people were stuck into a position, and they are defending the person that's next to them. Trust me, they don't want to be in that sand any more than anyone else. But these are the things that should demonstrate to you why a standing army is illegal, why a standing army was never part of the Constitution, why the American Union never had an official existing army, because it's used to invade people, kill, break, and destroy things. And we can also go to point out that this glorious battle of Fallujah, well, that is only after what? That is after President Bush 1 goes in, bombs out all of their armor and structure that could have done anything to really, really defend them. Then they go in and they use the CIA for an entire decade to kill their most well-trained leaders, their best strategists. So then we roll in 10, how many ever years later, and all the glorious Battle of Fallujah. What do you have? You have nothing but a bunch of conscripts left that haven't eaten in 4 years. Okay, their neighborhoods have been being constantly bombed by CIA agents. If you could climb out of the tank, and everybody's laughing at them and they're pointing at them. Well, look, these people have been under siege for almost 18 years by us. So now we're going to roll into town and we're going to go boo and scare these 14, 15, 16-year-old boys who haven't eaten in forever and a day right out of their socks. They're begging to stop fighting because anyone who had any training is all dead. So they're, it's disgusting. It's ridiculous. I think that no one should go and watch these things, but they're going to. Because society is a degenerative society. We produce degenerates who are going to go in here and they're going to strut around outside because it's just like the football mentality. Oh, my New England Patriots, they're going to stomp you in the ground. You see how my guys did and my guys did that? Well, it's the same thing, so they can flex their muscles at the flags around there and goes, oh yeah, well my Marine Corps just went in there and just slaughtered you, and my this and my that. And let me put the terror into you. Because let me tell you what, we aren't going to roll into Tiananmen Square like this. We aren't going to roll into Moscow like this. Ain't going to happen. Never going to happen. Okay? Because that's a real army with real soldiers, with real weapons that we can't pick away at and blow up. Because if we attempted something like we did in Iraq and Afghanistan, they will simply start the war. They will invade Europe. They will lash out. Okay? We have beat up on the small nobodies. And now let me tell you what, even though we have beat them up in this glorious battle to divert your attention, why are we still losing soldiers in Iraq? I thought we beat up these no-account idiots and they just laid down like dogs, because the real soldiers went into the mountainside. They fled into Afghanistan. Oh, there's another country we can't conquer with guys in flip-flops just kicking our cracks up and down the mountainside. That our military is weak, and you know why we're weak? Because we get stupid little red cards. Oh, don't yell at me! Don't yell at me! I need a timeout. Let me wave my red card. Oh, they're not real soldiers. They're panty wastes. Okay, and that's the reality. And people don't want to hear harsh talk, and they don't want to hear reality because your real soldiers are in the upper brass. They're some type of officer, or they're a 5-stripe or a 6-stripe sergeant. These are the guys. Now, you're getting experience in Iraq and Afghanistan, but what kind of experience is it? What are you dealing with? Are you actually testing your metal? Okay, we're handing out, these congressional medals of honor now like they're candy. You don't even have to die in the line of duty to get one anymore. You got 4 or 5 of them lined up getting them now. I think the president's about ready to hand out the 4th or 5th one to a living individual and so forth. I mean, the whole entire thing just disgusts me. And really, people need to understand. That's why they need to go to Posse Comitatus. They need to understand that training is not supposed to be funded by the government. Those weapons are not supposed to be funded by the government. They are supposed to be funded by your communities. They are supposed to be, your militia leaders are supposed to be elected from the community so that you know the guy leading your men is moral, is aligned with your ideology. That's the reason why Posse Comitatus was written, and it really is a great piece. But here's the reason. To all the anarchists and all the anarcho people and all the people who talk bad about the Constitution, they always say the Constitution has failed. Well, that's right. The Constitution has failed because the Constitution was never intended to do anything. The Constitution was an enumeration for you to stand on, for you to go outside your house, for you to bear the arms, for you to be the teeth and the power of the Constitution. The Constitution is nothing without your anger, without your righteous indignation, and without, yes, your violence. That is the reality. This should tell people everywhere in the world when Franklin came out and said, "Man, we've given you a republic. If you can keep it." This is the reason why they used words ever vigilant. Okay, this thing never goes away. There will never be a generation that can't carry out this process. There will, until we become mentally powered beings that can move things with our mind, this process can never come to an end. This is forever. Each generation are the new guardians of freedom. You are the new guardians of liberty. You're the guardians for the youth that is coming after you and the old who can no longer bear the weight of the gate to guard. This is the reality. And people can call me anything I want. They can say anything they want about me. I don't really care. Because when politics push comes to shove, you see this? This is what holds political power. This right here. There is nothing else. Okay? There is nothing else that holds political power. You can argue it anyway. History is proving me right. You can take that to the bank and you can live with it, or you can do nothing and hide in the closet.
Yeah,
Charlie.
Eric Lovely on a rant. And the same for those of you who are not on Justin TV, Eric held up his 45, I think it was, to show that. I mean that is the same authority that they're using. That is the same force that's going to be used to steal your freedom. So obviously it's the same force that was used to acquire your freedom. So there's no arguing with that. But again, Eric, to what end? Here we are. We're voices talking to 70, 80 people in the chat room. How many are going to listen on other medias? You know what? Is Doug Casey right? Should we be trying to find something in Argentina? Should we be trying to find something? Because the Republic's lost, brother. And I don't know if there's enough people out there. I don't know if there's a state that's willing to stand up. I don't know that there's even a community that's willing to stand up and say enough is enough. There is.
All you need is a flicker. See, that's what this is about.
Yeah.
Doug Casey, I don't agree with him. Doug Casey left. He's off doing other things. I don't know what he's doing, if he's doing anything behind the scenes, so I can't really talk down to the individual because he's not public about it. But the reality is as people like me,
are you gonna hang out? Are you gonna hang out on audio with me and Bert?
Oh, we're all the way at the end. I missed all kinds of stuff I wanted to talk about today.
Well, hang out. We're gonna be back in just a few minutes. Maybe with Eric Lovely, definitely with Freeman Burt. More Wide Awake News Radio. We'll see you in a few.